Oh, we'll see about that by the end of this video. Now, I bet you're all wondering, what the hell does he mean by gamers and gun rights? What have gamers got to do with gun rights? What is a British person talking about guns in the first place? Well, we will soon see. I mean, this guy's not British. The British guy is me. You can tell, right? We'll just see what our right-wing nutjob here has to say about gamers. I mean, for once, it's not a social justice warrior. It's their cousin, the right-wing hillbilly fundamentalist. Take it away, my friend.
You know, I want to take a moment tonight to talk about gamers. Now, I know what a lot of you are going to say. You're going to say gamers are the worst. They are insufferable little trolls. They are internet tough guys who like to challenge people, even though the closest thing they've ever come to a fight requires them to hold down the A key while hitting this other button, whatever's on those little controllers that they live their lives through.
And immediately we come with the insults and the generalizations and the stereotyping. See, it's funny because he's doing the exact same thing that he's accusing gamers of doing, being the internet tough guy. Well, I'm sorry, but the only person being an internet tough guy here is you. And you're saying that we've never ever been in fights before. I've been in a fight before. Admittedly, it was back in school, but I had my fair share of fights. Felfop Returns was in boot camp. He went into the army. Roguestar, who is a game developer, he was in the army. In fact, he toured in the army as well. There's pictures. I know a person personally who is in the British Army and he plays games. So to say that gamers only know a fight if it's not real is ludicrous. And we're trolls who are trying to act tough and be annoying to everyone. You see, that's what you think. That's not what everyone else thinks. You can't even speak for your audience. You don't know if they think the same way as you do about gamers. Some of them might be playing games as well.
There are guys on the internet that, like to challenge everybody else's sexuality, even though the closest thing to a sexual experience they've ever had is, jizzing in a sock in their bedroom while they hope their mom doesn't knock on the door.
Now, I take issue with that. One, how can you, as quite a big man, a fat man, I have to say, be judging gamers' sexual experiences? I mean, look, I'm trying not to judge you, but I'm just pointing out the hypocrisy here. You are not the most handsome of men. I don't know if you get a girl by personality or not, but I've seen plenty of gamers in my lifetime, and most of them are fitter than you. Most of them are good looking, and actually better looking than you, as I should say. So how you can sit there and ad hominem a group of gamers and attack their sexuality, well, basically claiming that they attack your sexuality, is fucking cheap coming from you.
And I'm not going to argue with you. They are horrible, horrible things. They are a blight on society.
Wow, really? We're horrible things. We're not even humans, people. We're things and we're a blight on society, despite the fact that we have contributed to one of the most biggest and most profitable industries in the world today. We have helped build it. We have helped create the games. Remember, most of those game developers are gamers too, and they're making a hell of a lot of money off being blights on society. And let's not forget that some of us are a bit on the autistic spectrum disorder on the scale, and some of us are not on that level, but they are very smart people, they are very skilled people, they're very well informed people, and they contribute to society very well in their own unique ways. I don't know what you're like, but the right wing hasn't really contributed to society in any meaningful way, in what I can gather, in the last, 30 years? What have you done? I mean, all you've done so far is try to compare us to guns rights, or put us into the guns rights argument, but you're attacking us. What have we got to do with guns rights? What are you interested in? Just because we play shooting games, we might like guns? I don't know. Why are you attacking us? What's the point in this?
No one can argue that.
No, you are arguing that. You cannot argue that. You and your followers can argue that. In fact, how do you know that any of your followers disagree with you or agree with you? But the rest of the world, apart from the social justice warriors, disagree with you on that. It's funny. Have you heard of the horseshoe theory? Yeah, I think you might get along with those types, but they're just filthy liberal fags to you, so, you know.
But, eventually they grow up and they become just like normal, insufferable assholes like the rest of us. They grow out of that.
Well, at least you're right about one thing. But my dad is 55, and he is a gamer, and he plays games, and he's played it for a hell of a lot longer than me, and I think he would disagree with you on that. In fact, the core demographic of gamers is not just their gender, it's also their age. They're over 30. The biggest audience is people over the age of 30. And that is because these were the people who grew up with games when they were 10 or 20 years old, and now they're 40, 50, and 30, and they continue to play games. I think they would also disagree with you on that one, sir. It is perfectly natural for a person to grow up to be this normal arsehole that you speak of, while also being a gamer. Gamers aren't some subspecies of humans. They're actually not all kids or people aged 20 to 25, as you seem to think that we are.
So what I want to talk to you about these gamers is not, what they are now, but what they're going to be eventually. And that's like, they're going to eventually be adults. They're going to be voting adults.
So not only does this guy think he can predict the future, he also thinks he knows what gamers are currently and what gamers will become. He thinks we're all little children who don't have minds of our own, not voting age adults. I'm 21. The voting age in the UK is 18. I think it's roughly the same in America. For you, Mr. Right-wing person, whatever you're called again. I can vote. I did vote. I can make conscious decisions about my life. I choose to play games. I choose to be a gamer. I am a perfect voting age adult. Luckily for me, gun rights aren't an issue in this country. It's more gun crime. But thankfully we have a lot less than you do. But that's a digression. I want to know, what do you really think, after you've just insulted an entire demographic of people, how they're going to suddenly come to your side now that they're becoming voting age adults, even though most of them already are and have been for at least 20 to 30 years.
And I want to talk about something that's different between them and like my generation.
You do realise that there are gamers your age. I don't know how old you are. I'm going to predict, say, 40s to 50s. Although you could be younger as well. There are people who grey at, say, 30 years of age. Even younger. But they are still of your generation. They were the first people to play video games. I don't get what you're trying to say here. They're not kids, most of them. Most games can't be played by kids anyway. Actually, that's a lot. That's actually wrong. 50-50. Games can be played by men and boys and girls and women. And whatever.
And that difference is exposure.
Hang on. Do you mean exposure to life? Exposure to harmful rays of radiation? Exposure to people? Exposure to germs? Exposure to anything in between all those things that I just mentioned? Or do you mean guns?
A lot of people my age, especially those that are anti-gun, have never been exposed to firearms, period. They don't think of firearms in anything other than what they see them on the news as something that a bad guy uses to kill a good guy.
Alright, you're going to be talking about gun rights and guns before you get back to gamers. But, to be fair, I'd just like to make this astute observation. You guys think guns are about good guys shooting bad guys, while the liberal people think that it's bad guys shooting good guys. Well, people like me just see them as guns killing yet more people, Doesn't matter if it's good or bad, guns kill people. Or rather, the people behind the gun kill people. So, I don't really see what this long exposition has to do with gamers. Especially gamers who are young, who can't vote yet. Or maybe they don't want to vote. Most gamers have been quite disillusioned with politics the last 12 months. But I don't think you'd know about Gamergate. I don't even think you'd like Gamergate particularly. I mean, as much as people like Milo Yiannopoulos think that the right really should take advantage of it, personally, I think they're, judging by what the Telegraph think about it and a few other right-wing journos, I think they'd rather not touch us with a 10-foot pole because they're worried. But that's a long digression, And let's move on. Next.
And occasionally something that cops use to kill bad guys. They don't see them as anything beyond that because they've never really been exposed to anything different.
Basically what I just said. And by the way, the cops don't just use it to kill bad guys. Most liberals see it as the cops just using them indiscriminately to kill whoever they think is a criminal, or if a criminal commits an act, no matter how minor, they will use a taser or, I don't know, their Magnum 44. I know I'm just stereotyping there. But you see what I did there and what you did before? Yeah, see?
People like myself that were raised around them, it's hard for us to comprehend this, but a lot of people grow up having never seen, touched, or used a firearm for anything. Hunting, self-defense, anything.
Well, I can't say I've never touched a firearm. I have touched a firearm, but that was when I was a kid, and I was on a tour of a military base, not far from where I live. Because I'm a guy who's into military history, and at the time I was into it a lot more than I am now. And I got a tour of it, like a personal tour. The guys were nice. They let me touch the handguns, which were unloaded, obviously. You know, they weren't in use. They're medics. They're not really meant to kill people. That's just there for self-defense. And I touched it, and I thought it was light. But I've never used one. I've never gone to a target range. The closest thing I've ever done to firing a gun is a paint gun, which isn't a gun in the sense that he's talking about. And I've had air rifles that shoot yellow pellets, not little metal ones that you can get. You know, and basically that's the extent that I've had. I've not had to defend myself. I've not had to shoot anyone in battle. And I don't think this guy has gone and fought anyone in battle either. He's not, you know, told us his war stories. I mean, I don't want to judge, but it's, you know, he says that we've never been in fights, yet how do we know he's never been in a fight? So, you know, whatever, you know. What's this got to do with gamers, exactly?
They have absolutely no reference to them in their lives.
And you know, just because they've probably never touched a weapon in their life doesn't mean that their opinion's any less invalid than yours. I'm just, you know, as a Brit on the outside looking in, you all have your arguments that have merits, and they have their pros and their cons. But I still don't know what you're getting at. This is like a Star Wars exposition. Come on, get to the point. Let's see some actual arguments here. This is just descriptive nonsense.
It becomes really easy to judge something when the only thing you know of it is bad news that you see on television. It becomes really easy to become afraid of these things.
Well, isn't that just a whole lot of projection going on? Seriously, lad. You have just projected to us about people who don't know a thing, they've only heard bad things, so they're afraid of things. You've just done the exact same thing to gamers only a couple of minutes ago. So how dare you stand there and talk this absolute drivel about gamers, and then when it comes to your own people, you know, the guns rights lobbyists say that, oh, we're just misunderstood. Guns are misunderstood. You know, guns may very well be misunderstood. I don't particularly have an opinion on guns, but when you're accusing me of being a blight on society and a thing, I take issue with people like you.
Because you think of them as instruments of death. You don't see them for what they are, which is just a tool.
And you don't see what gamers are for what they are. A community of people with feelings, wants, desires, their own tastes. You know, they're not internet trolls that are a blight on society like you said. You see, I know that you are not a dumb person. You're saying a really stupid argument, but I could tell there's some intelligence there. Now, I'm not trying to talk down to you. That's just my act, okay? I'm going to talk to you as Mitch. Now, listen, if you can go up and tell liberals, why don't you just spend an hour with me at the gun range and see what guns are like? Or why can't you meet someone who plays games that you're friendly with and go to a games convention, go to a Comic-Con, go to a gamers club at a university or down in the pub or something. I can guarantee you within 5 minutes you will quickly change your mind about how gamers are apparently this blatant society who are nothing but trolls and internet tough guys. Because I think you'll find the vast majority of gamers on the internet are not. Go visit the forums then if you're only interested in seeing them on the internet. That's where you've got your opinions from. You keep saying that we're influenced by the news about how to think about guns, when really you are influenced by the news about gamers. Do you not see the hypocrisy here and how you could educate yourself on how gamers truly are? If you can apply what you just said about guns to gamers, you might enlighten yourself just a little tiny bit. But I don't think you will, because it's nothing to do with your gender. It's the same with you right-wingers. Voting age is important. Like, your voters, now we've got to try and get you to vote the Republicans or Libertarians in or whatever. You don't really care about these people as human beings. You just want to make sure that they can keep your guns, which you will keep your guns. It'll just be harder for you to buy more guns, that's all. At least that's what I've heard. That's what I think. But who cares? I don't care.
The big difference about the gamers is they are exposed to them. Even if it's just virtually, this is how a lot of these people get a lot of their experiences at first, is virtually.
I think you have a warped sense of reality. We are not exposed to guns, even if they're not real. They're not real. They're not guns. They're not. Even the liberals are probably gamers and don't play with guns, real guns. I nearly said don't play video games then for a second. The guns aren't real. They're fake. Some of the guns aren't even remotely real. Laser guns. The Dancertron, the Groovatron from Ratchet and Clank, which makes you dance. And another similar weapon from Saints Row would be the dubstep gun. We're not exposed to guns. They are not real. We are not desensitized to guns. We're not even desensitized to violence. Desensitized to fake fantasy violence, yes. But to real ones, no. No. You need to really sort yourself out and realise that they're not real. It's not real. It's like watching Commando with Arnold Schwarzenegger, mate. Alright? But you just don't get it. See, all of a sudden, you've come out of the block and say, I am your enemy, and now you're trying to put us back in because, oh, you're exposed to guns. I'm exposed to guns. Let's be allies. No, that's not how it works, mate.
So these people grow up thinking, these guns are something that I've seen, that I even know about, that I actually study in my video games to learn the capabilities of. They think of them as tools.
Again, with the stupid generalizations and assertions, most gamers are voting age adults or over. And most of them probably don't think like you. You don't know what they think. I don't know what they think. I said they probably mostly don't agree with you. They certainly don't agree with your opinion on them. They are adults who are probably having debates about the very issue that you're having right now in this video. They do not see guns as tools. Again, you think that just because they play shooting games, they therefore have been brainwashed into thinking that guns are tools. No, they don't. They are not being exposed to guns, as we just mentioned. Again, for someone who prides himself on not playing games and being in tune with reality, as you implied and said, in regards to your anti-gamerness, you seem largely unaware of reality itself. I'm just saying.
I mean, when I was growing up, the only video games we played was like Pac-Man, and he wasn't even packing anything, so I don't know why they called him Pac-Man. They should have just called him that little yellow guy that doesn't have a gun, so he has to run from the ghosts.
And there's more proof that you're absolutely clueless about games and gaming culture. Pac-Man runs from the ghosts because he's eating. That is to provide conflict and challenge. I mean, do you honestly think the game would have been any better with guns in it? No, it wouldn't. And besides, you obviously didn't play games like Space Invaders and I could go on and on. There were loads of games back then that had guns in them. Loads of them. You were clueless. You are not a gamer. And I also kind of question whether or not you were a kid in the 80s, but that's just me being facetious there. But you know nothing. You know absolutely nothing about what games are now. You don't know what games were like in the past. You are clueless. You are trying to debate from a position of ignorance. And it's not working.
So these kids that are gamers now are going to grow up and become adults who aren't afraid of guns. They know things about them beyond just what they're told in the media.
Stop calling gamers as kids. Stop saying they're all kids. They're not all kids. Okay? I mean, what are the developers? How old are they? God, I'm beginning to question my benefit of the doubt to you right now. Now look, you could be facetious. You could be using the age just to be a weapon in your agenda pushing. It's an device for an argument. You know full well that most gamers are probably adults and the same age as you. The people making the games now are your age, not mine. And just because they play Call of Duty and Halo doesn't mean they know anything about guns. Some of them may want to learn about them in their free time. Some of them may, like you, have experience with guns already. But that doesn't prove your point. That doesn't prove that guns rights is going to be... I would hesitate to call it guns rights, but, whatever. That doesn't help your argument one bit. You've just demonised everyone in gaming, and now you suddenly want them on your side? You do realise that kids don't forget, right?
And in fact, a lot of them are going to grow up saying, hey, I used to shoot a P226 in this video game, and man, I would really love to own one now, a real one. Now that I'm an adult in the real world, and I have real responsibilities, and I have real things to protect.
As you've just demonstrated in this video, real is something that you don't know an awful lot about. And again, you cannot assert that the young amongst us will grow up and want guns. You don't know that. You do not know that.
This gun was really good at protecting my base station in this video game. It should be really good at protecting my home now that I'm an adult with things worth protecting, like a family and children, etc.
Do you honestly think that gamers are so small-minded that they think that a gun that they use in a game will automatically be as useful to them at home? Who needs an automatic assault rifle to protect their home? A handgun is enough. A shotgun? That's okay if you live on a farm. In Britain, farmers have shotguns because you need to kill those pesky foxes and wolves. God, you are an idiot. You know nothing. You know nothing, Jon Snow. You know absolutely nothing. You're an insult to Jon Snow that you know absolutely nothing about games. Look, a knife can protect your whole home. It can. If you're lucky enough to catch the person unawares. I mean, sometimes you don't even need a gun. Again, you just don't know these things. You are asserting that these people will buy guns because the game has guns in them. These games don't make guns look good. Not really. The guns are just there. They are, as you say, tools to get from one level to another. But that's just my opinion on those games. But, you obviously haven't played them, so your argument is currently finding it very hard to find itself validated.
So even though gamers are awful, let's not lose sight of the fact that one day they're going to be adults just like us.
Who is us? Right-wing adults? Conservative adults? Right-wing libertarian adults? There is no us. There is no us. I am not like you. You are not like me. Most gamers are adults. Most of them are older than me. They do not agree with you, for sure, because even though they may agree with you on guns, they won't agree with you on this bullshit. To them, reality is separate to the fantasy they like to play on their PS4s or their PCs. Yeah, beforehand you mentioned their keys on their consoles. Most of us actually don't necessarily play console games. Actually, that's probably wrong. Not most of us. Quite a lot of us don't play the PS4 or the Xbox 360 or the Xbox One. Most of us play the good old-fashioned PC or the Linux or the Mac. But that's besides the point. I digress. You see, you remind me of this joke I've seen some comedians talk about abortion when they say that the right wing, they're really, really interested when you're in the womb, because sanctity of life and all that. Yet, in between that, when you're born, they don't give a shit. But as soon as you go into voting age, off to the army, you're now useful. You're a voter. We need you. We need to get into power. And this is exactly the kind of thing that you've been showing throughout this video. It's okay when, and I'm going to say it my way, these young gamers grow up to be voting age, because then we can use them to further our agenda. Let's get them to vote for us and help our cause. While we demonise them and call them a blight on society, but I'm sure they'll forgive us. I'm sure they'll grow up and learn that we were just trying to help them. And that they need to help us as good old-fashioned Americans.
They're going to grow out of the gamer stage. I mean, they always may be gamers their entire life, but hopefully they'll be a little more mature. They won't be the kind of gamer that we hate on the internet.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you said two contradictory statements there. One, you hope that they grow out of playing games, but then you corrected yourself and said, well, we hope if they become gamers their entire lives, they won't be trolls. But you think we are all trolls. You've just said that we're all trolls and we're a blight on society. Yet you now hope that we become that little tiny minority who aren't trolls and who aren't a blight on society. Well, fuck you and fuck right off with that bullshit. We're not going to be your useful idiots, okay? We're not going to further your agenda. Go and drum up support preaching to the choir, because that's all you're going to be good at.
And not only will they mature, they'll be more accustomed to guns. They'll even want those guns.
No, they won't. They will not be accustomed to guns. The guns are not real. Can you not see the irony in your statement that you are saying that we don't know anything about reality? Yet you don't know anything about reality your fucking self. You are an absolute disgrace, sir. Jesus Christ. See, as soon as all gamers grow up, they become responsible adults who don't game anymore. If they do game, they won't be trolls, hopefully. Oh, for God's sake. They will not grow up. You do not know if they will... These young gamers grow up to be members of the NRA. You do not know that. You don't even know if they will own guns. These games will not influence them. What will influence them is the place that they live in, their parents, people like you, although I sincerely doubt that you will influence them. When I mean people like you, I mean people of your political ilk, you know, people like Jack Thompson, although I don't know if he's into guns or anything. He is a right-winger, though. But, you know, I could go on about people like you. You know, you're just hoping that you can bring out that agenda and spread it far and wide, and enough shit sticks to the wall. Gamers won't do that. In fact, the opposite may very much occur, and I, for one, cannot wait when it does.
Not all of them, but some of them. So let's try to keep that in mind when we try to tear down the gamer culture and we say, oh, I hate these guys that all they know about guns is what they see on the internet or what they see in their video games. I'm glad they're seeing them.
You just did that, you idiot! God, you have no self-awareness! You just tore down the entire gamer culture, calling us a blight on society. And now all of a sudden we're not so bad because we play shooting games and are somehow exposed to guns, even though these guns aren't real. God, you must have so much mental gymnastics going on in your head right now to come from a position of attacking someone to suddenly trying to appeal to them. There must be a logical fallacy about that somewhere.
Because what I want the next generation to grow up being exposed to firearms, not just knowing about them what they hear on the news, but actually thinking of them as a tool and seeing how they can be useful.
God, this constant circular notion of gamers being kids. Most of them are fully formed adults who are nearly 40 now. Oh my God, you just don't fucking learn, do you? You didn't bother to research before you made this video. You didn't bother to talk to a gamer, did you?
Because in the end, I don't see that as being anything but beneficial to you, to me, to society, and to gun rights as a whole.
Well, when you insulted all gamers and then tried to appeal to us, I guess you shot yourself in the foot right there. Well, that's it from me. It's good to at least have a right-winger on the channel for once, someone I can just lay into who isn't a social justice warrior and fellow lefty. They get a bit boring sometimes, so it's good to see that this guy's popped out of nowhere. Anyway, this has been CharmingMan93. Like and share the video, drop a comment, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you all later for the 100 subs thingy, whenever that happens. So, subscribe, bitches.